We just recently received a clearance. Again, it was the first time ever that any oral appliance has been cleared to treat any level of OSA in children. And the clearance was specifically for moderate to severe in children who also have a need for some orthodontic treatment.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Kirk Huntsman. He is the CEO of Vivos Therapeutics. And Kirk, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks.
So the company has had some recent news that is very significant as far as really what the future of the company is, and we'll get into both of them. First off, dealing around children, and maybe you can talk a bit about the company and what you offer and how that can affect the lives of children.
Okay, great. So here at Vivos, we have been working with all age demographics for many years, but we've been limited as to what we could do with the pediatric population, and that's defined by the FDA as ages 6 through 17. So there's been limited availability of services and products available to service that market. And we've been submitting data to the FDA for quite some time that shows a really high degree of safety and efficacy for children. And so this is using our DNA appliance, one of our care devices, which has been so prominent in all of our product offerings. But we just recently received a clearance. Again, it was the first time ever that any oral appliance has been cleared to treat any level of OSA in children. And the clearance was specifically for moderate to severe in children who also have a need for some orthodontic treatment. So, which is almost all, because what happens with these children is that they fail to develop their arches, their airway follows, and it just turns into a mess really quick. So there's about 10 million kids in the United States that have this. That number has grown dramatically over the last decade. And so far from being just sort of a really small part of the pediatric population, this represents a significant, about 20%, over 20% of all the kids in that age bracket that I mentioned have obstructive sleep apnea or some other debilitating sleep and breathing disorder. And what that means is that these kids are failing to thrive. They have stunted growth and development. They have lower IQs. Their academics fall apart. They wet the bed. They have higher levels, significantly higher levels of ADD, ADHD. So there are behavioral problems. There's attention problems. There are aggression sometimes. There's chronic allergies that take place. And these kids' lives are truly a train wreck. And the parents are oftentimes left wondering, what is wrong with my child? And they don't know what to do. And the traditional go-to therapy for these kids is to remove their tonsils and adenoids, which in a large percentage of these kids, they just completely relapse after 6 months. And so they've never had, our world has never before now had an effective treatment for children who have this condition. So this is a major, major deal, and we're getting a lot of traction with a lot of the ENT groups, the ones that perform a lot of these surgeries on these kids to remove tonsils and adenoids, and a lot of other general practitioners, pediatricians are calling. So this is a really big deal. We're excited about what this means for us.
Yeah, and that really leads into today's news that we're talking about also is the fact that another regulatory hurdle the company's overcome with the American Medical Association. And maybe you can talk us through this one because this all sort of fits in together and really is the last big step that you had to take, right, Kirk?
Well, this is certainly a major step forward. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to bill for the procedures. And
Yeah.
to the extent that you can have a specific billing code for your products, or your product category, which been the problem for us, is that to a certain extent, we're creating a whole new product category. And that's what the American Medical Association recognized and gave us here in their latest, what's called their CPT code, revisions that their process convened. They wound it up, and we got codes for our care devices for billing the insurance payers. The remaining part of that now is for us to get the payers to reimburse at full tilt on these appliances. But now that we have the codes available, the recognition from the American Medical Association, it really clears the way for us to be able to do that. We're already setting up meetings with the payers to discuss this, and we fully expect that we're going to be able to start to see a lot of accretion to revenue as these billable codes get out there and start getting used by payers.
And Kirk, just lastly, is that sort of the next sort of wave that we're going to see from the company, is really getting in those meetings and getting these covered as quick as possible?
Yeah, I think there's two things. There's that, and then there's also the pivot that we've announced previously, where we are actually supporting providers directly in delivery of their of our technology to patients, and that is proving to be a real boost to revenues. We're starting to see that just now here in the third quarter as we go forward and we get into the fourth quarter now. We are starting to see some of those revenues start to accumulate and start to aggregate to our benefit. So I think you're going to start to see us starting to monetize some of these things that have been happening. I feel like all I've done is announce regulatory victories, but now we're about to see that start to monetize and affect our top line revenue and our bottom line. So that's all right at that. We're at that inflection point right now. So I'm very excited about what the near term holds for us.
Yeah, the cart has to stay behind the horse. I get it. It makes a lot of sense. Kirk, thanks so much. Good to see you again, and congratulations on this.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, Kirk Huntsman, the CEO of Vivos Therapeutics.